Okay. Coming on for just a few minutes here. Quick few minutes. Um, I watch InfoWars every day. Um, and Alex Jones just handed over to Paul Joseph Watson, one of my favorite InfoWars uh, correspondents from England. And he's trumpeting new poll results, generic poll results for the midterms on Reuters that say that Republicans are now 6 points ahead out of the I'm blanking. You know what I mean. The margin of error. Um, and a few months ago, we were talking CNN polls that had Republicans 16 points behind, and we were talking blue wave, and I did a video on this a week or 2 weeks ago on the imaginary blue wave, and since Paul brought it up again, uh, I just want to remind people that the polls, like they were during the presidential race in 2016, they skewed them 15, 20, 30 points for Democrats and independents. And then Republicans get a little tiny little spot on these polls. And whenever you go to one of these polls, you can see the demographics. They'll show you the demographics down. You have to look for them. But that's the game they play. And the more Republicans or patriot candidates, conservatives, libertarians, Tea Party, whatever, um, the more they're doing well, the more they skew it for the Democrat. So when they were skewing it 16 points ahead, you're talking virtual dead heat, to 5 to 10 points for GOP candidates. And now Reuters is saying that the GOP is across the board 6 points ahead. So by the skewed polls, we're 15, 20 points ahead, and more in a lot of places. Um, the problem that we have is the problem that we've had for um, a decade now, since Barack Obama came on the scene, and that is election fraud. Not voter fraud, election fraud. Voter fraud is one person or a few people. And that is, they say voter fraud to make you believe, oh, it's only a few people. It's not. They're not making a difference. That's not the truth. It's election fraud. Massive, massive fraud. And back in 2008, they were just starting with the new electronic models, the computer generated voting, and now 10 years later they've got the system, uh, and they take a lot of races. So the polls The polls don't matter in the end. Okay, what matters is numbers. Numbers. We don't poo-poo it and say it doesn't matter, because it does matter, and we get our asses out and we vote. Because if we don't vote, I mean, we're not just fighting against their votes. We're fighting against electronic fraud and fraud at the ballot box, where they have people who count the votes, and and they mess with it there, because these people are over the ones who are sat on these election rolls here at the polls are overwhelmingly Democrats, and especially in the big cities. Um, so the polls, they're nice, okay, if they're coming our way. It sounds good. Reality is numbers at the polls and fraud, because they're going to roll it out like you ain't never seen before. They thought they had it all set up for Hillary. There was no way she was going to lose. They knew she was going to win. They didn't count on us. And we need to come out in the same numbers, if not more, for our candidates. And we need to protect our president, and we need to weed out the swamp. We need to weed them out. And if they're successful in November, you know, in my opinion, it's long past due. We should have been in the street 10 years ago, when the office of the presidency was usurped. Okay, but we didn't want to. We were too afraid of being called racists, and we didn't want to engage. We would rather just sit in our little bubbles, and we would and do what we do. Okay, but we started to do something in 2016, and we need to continue to do it in the midterms.